The rain outside the cafe window was relentless, drumming a sad rhythm against the glass. I sat alone, nursing a cup of coffee that had long gone cold, the bitterness a familiar companion. It had been a year since John died. A year of empty chairs and conversations that existed only in my head. A man I didn't recognize approached my table. He was dressed in a dark coat, his face obscured by the brim of his hat. Without a word, he slid a plain manila envelope across the table and then was gone, melting back into the rain-soaked street. My heart pounded a nervous tempo against my ribs. What could this be? My hands trembled as I tore it open. Inside was a photograph. My breath caught in my throat, a sharp, painful gasp. It was John. Not a memory, not an old picture, but him now. He looked older, tired, and terrified. His eyes, those eyes I knew better than my own, screamed a silent plea. He was alive, but he was in danger. Scrawled on the back of the photo was a single address, an old shipyard on the edge of the city. Hope, a dangerous and fragile thing, bloomed in my chest. I had to go. I had to find him. I left the half-empty cup on the table and stepped out into the storm, the rain a cold shock against my skin. The city at night was a maze of slick black streets and deep, menacing shadows. Each reflection in the puddles seemed to morph into a watchful eye. I could feel them, the figures lurking just at the edge of my vision. A car would slow as it passed, its headlights lingering on me for a moment too long. The echo of footsteps would follow mine, only to disappear when I dared to look back. Was I being paranoid, or was the stranger's warning more than just a picture? The fear was a cold knot in my stomach, but the image of John's face burned brighter. He was alive. That was the only thought that mattered. It propelled me forward, my pace quickening, my senses on high alert. The address led me to a derelict warehouse district, a graveyard of rusted metal and broken windows. The air was thick with the smell of damp concrete and decay. The building from the address loomed before me, a monolithic shadow against the stormy sky. The heavy steel door groaned open under my push, revealing a cavernous, dark interior. Rows of shipping containers stood like silent sentinels in the gloom. The only light came from high, grimy windows, casting long, distorted shadows that danced and swayed. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind me with a deafening clang that echoed through the vast space. I was trapped. I moved cautiously, my footsteps unnaturally loud in the silence. A noise from above made me freeze. A shadow detached itself from a catwalk high overhead, then another. They were here, waiting for me. My heart hammered, but the fear was slowly being replaced by something else, something harder, anger. They had taken my husband, they had lied to me, and now they were hunting me. They thought I was just a grieving old woman. They were about to find out how wrong they were. I ducked behind a stack of crates, my mind racing. I wasn't a fighter, not in the way John was. But I was smart. And I knew this city, its dark corners, its forgotten places. This warehouse was their hunting ground, but I would make it my weapon. I noticed a loose chain hanging from a crane, a pile of oil drums in a corner, a precariously balanced stack of steel pipes. A plan began to form, a desperate, dangerous gamble. My first move was a distraction. I hurled a piece of scrap metal against a distant container. As they moved towards the sound, I slipped away into the deeper shadows, my movements now silent and purposeful. I found a control panel for the overhead crane, its lights blinking faintly. One of the figures was directly below it. With a trembling finger, I hit the release button. The heavy chain swung down, not to hit him, but to crash into a pile of empty barrels beside him, creating a deafening clatter. He spun around, startled, his weapon raised. It gave me the opening I needed. I circled around, using the labyrinth of containers as cover. I saw the second man near the stack of steel pipes I'd noticed earlier. There was a wooden wedge holding them in place. I found a long iron rod and, from a safe distance, pushed against the wedge. It took all my strength, but it finally gave way. The pipes rolled down with a thunderous roar. blocking his path and trapping him in a dead end. I didn't wait to see the result. I kept moving deeper into the warehouse. The adrenaline was a fire in my veins. I was no longer the prey. I was the hunter. Finally, at the far end of the warehouse, I found him, John. He was tied to a chair in a small, brightly lit office, a single bulb hanging over his head. And standing beside him, a gun pointed at his head, was the stranger from the cafe. My blood ran cold. It was a trap. The whole thing was a setup. He smiled when he saw me, a cruel, triumphant smirk. "I knew you'd come," he said, his voice smooth and chilling. He wouldn't tell us what we needed to know. But he would for you. He gestured with a gun towards a locked safe in the corner of the office. So that's what this was about. Money. Or something John had hidden. It didn't matter. All that mattered was John's life. "Let him go," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "And I'll open it." The man laughed. "You're in no position to make demands." But I had seen something he hadn't. A fire hose, coiled on the wall just outside the office door. And next to it, a high-voltage electrical box, its cover slightly ajar. My desperate gamble had one final move. I nodded slowly, as if in defeat, and took a step towards the office. Then, in one fluid motion, I grabbed the nozzle of the fire hose, spun around, and blasted the electrical box with a powerful jet of water. Sparks erupted in a blinding flash. The lights flickered and died, plunging the entire warehouse into absolute darkness. In the ensuing chaos, I dropped the hose and scrambled into the office. I could hear the man cursing, disoriented. I found John, my hands fumbling with the ropes in the pitch black. "Eleanor?" he whispered, his voice hoarse with disbelief. "I'm here, John. I'm here," I choked out, tears finally streaming down my face as I pulled the last knot free. We stumbled out of the office, away from the sounds of our pursuer. We didn't stop running until we burst back out into the pre-dawn light. The rain had stopped. The first rays of sunrise were painting the sky in soft shades of pink and orange. We just stood there for a moment, breathing in the fresh, clean air, holding on to each other as if we might never let go. The nightmare was over. Later that morning, we found ourselves back at the same cafe. The city was waking up, life returning to normal. It felt surreal. As we sat hand in hand, my gaze fell upon our table. There, right where I had been sitting yesterday, was another plain manila envelope. My heart skipped a beat. John saw it too, and our eyes met. It wasn't over. It was just beginning. Thanks for watching our story unfold. If you were on the edge of your seat, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more mysteries. We'll see you in the next one.